Monsieur Barnier, s'il vous plaît, vous avez la parole.
Mr. Barnier, please. Thank you. Thank you, Georges. I'd like to thank the Presidency also for the excellent cooperation we've been enjoying over the past few months together. And good morning, everybody. Now, for 2 years now, I've enjoyed the trust of President Juncker, President Tusk, and the members of the European Council, as well as the European Parliament, in my position. I have attempted to operate methodically and calmly to ensure that the decisions of the European Union, as expressed by the European Council in its decisions and guidelines on the one hand, and also by the European Parliament in a number of its resolutions, I've attempted to pursue these in an orderly fashion. Now, if we look at these guidelines and decisions, they reflect, first of all, the desire to be united, and that has been expressed since June 2016 by the European institutions. And in my capacity, I am a worker, hopefully a qualified worker, on behalf of the 27, in nurturing this unity on a daily basis and ensuring transparency and trust as part of the process of dialogue. So we're talking about unity, we're talking about defending the interests of the European Union, and indeed the foundations of the European Union, which the UK is very familiar with because we've been constructing these for the past 44 years. We're talking about the single market in all of its dimensions, which is our main achievement in the current global context and for the future. An orderly withdrawal of the United Kingdom. This is something which has, on a daily basis, been our objective, and it remains our objective. Obviously, an orderly withdrawal implies the best possible conditions for the second set of negotiations. Equally important in my mind, the negotiations for the future partnership with the United Kingdom, which would and will remain a friend, partner, and ally. So this explains how and why we have been working on this for the past 2 years. Now, on the eve of a European Council, we have examined the situation in London, and President Tusk has given Theresa May the opportunity to show the way forward, a timeline, a roadmap. This is something the European Union needs in order to enable it to take the right decisions. Now, a new element in this very, very serious and complex context we're operating within is, of course, the fact that we have had cross-party discussions initiated finally with Labour by Theresa May. We all expressed our hopes and expectations in this regard. In other words, with regard to these cross-party negotiations. Our expectations and our hope that this dialogue will conclude with a positive result, which will allow us at last to have a positive majority emerge with regard to this withdrawal agreement. And this is something I was able to reiterate this morning to ministers. If the UK wishes to leave the EU in an orderly fashion, the only way to do so is based on the withdrawal agreement which we agreed upon together. So, as I said, this cross-party dialogue is the new element which could lead to a request which we would be then willing not only to agree to, but also to implement for our future relations. You will have heard me say on a number of occasions, first of all, that the withdrawal agreement is not going to be reopened, is not up for negotiation again. That continues to be the case. Secondly, the political declaration, which will set the framework for future relations, can be improved. We can provide it with an increased level of ambition, if that is the wish of the UK. Clearly, there is one point which I think needs to be stated quite clearly, and that is that these ambitions with regard to future relations, which could, for example, consist of adding, and I say here, adding to a free trade agreement on which we've agreed with the UK already. That's a minimum level. In other words, it would involve adding to this free trade agreement, for example, a customs union, a genuine customs union. And we are willing to improve and amend the political declaration rapidly, within a few hours or days. But the request we await and expect from the UK as a result of this cross-party dialogue is one which needs to respect the principles underlying the approach of the European Council and the European Parliament, and respect what we are and what we will continue to be. And I think this is something worth recalling. We're talking here about the integrity of the internal market, the decision-making autonomy of the 27, and the indivisibility of the four freedoms. We are not willing to compromise in any way the very foundations of the European Union, which are based on this single market and the genuine ecosystem which it entails, which protects businesses and in particular protects consumers. That's a point which needs to be understood very, very clearly. And if that's the case, then we are willing straight away, and this is something President Juncker has said on a number of occasions. He said this recently at the plenary of the European Parliament. We are ready straight away to get down to amending and improving and providing more ambition to the political declaration which would set the framework for future relations. Now, why am I stressing this particular point and these new elements in the process, which we hope will allow for a new process to emerge in the House of Commons and will allow ultimately for a new majority to emerge with regard to this agreement and this new political declaration. Why am I stressing this so much? Well, clearly it's because this is what would provide meaning to the request which the UK Prime Minister has submitted for an extension. And this is all I wish to say on this for today. Forgive me for not dwelling on this further, but this is a matter for the leaders of the European Union tomorrow. This extension has to serve a purpose. It's got to serve a purpose to provide more time, if necessary, to ensure that the political process I've described can be crowned with success and that this majority can be attained. The issue of the length of the extension, which has been discussed at great length with its possible pros and cons, I'm not going to make a statement on that. From my vantage point, it's not up to me to do so, but the duration of the extension has got to be in line, in any case, with the purpose being striven for. That's what I would say right now. It's got to serve a purpose or an aim. Now, a final word. One of the ministers said something this morning. The aim of all this is to achieve an orderly withdrawal. and I would prefer to say this rather than to imply that our objective is to avoid a no deal, because a no deal will never be a decision taken by the European Union. A no deal would never be a decision taken by the European Union. We have been working towards an agreement, a treaty, if you like, not just a deal. We're talking about 600 pages or so, setting out very specifically guarantees for citizens, for Ireland, for the beneficiaries of European funds, and a lot of other domains which could be jeopardized. So it's more than a deal. It's a genuine treaty. We have worked towards this treaty together with the British, and that means that no deal would never be a decision of the European Union. It would always be the responsibility of the United Kingdom to tell us what they want. If they want to stop the Brexit process, they can do so. They can revoke Article 50. If they want to allow for a deal to take place, or indeed to prevent a no deal, as we've heard from the House of Commons, if they want to avoid a no deal situation, then they've got to vote in favour of the agreement, with, as I said, the improvements to the political declaration. That's their responsibility, and it will remain the responsibility of the United Kingdom and of the UK only. So that's what I would say at this point in this very constructive debate in a spirit of solidarity. I was very, very touched by the expressions of trust and confidence by all the ministers for the work of our team, which of course is their team and has been for the past 2 years.